Right, so here we are, same size paper, the other one's drying, and I'm moving down and I'm going to do a wet on wet into another one. So again, I'm just wetting the paper from side to side, nice big strokes with the brush. I'm using probably my favorite brush actually. It's a Rosemary size 20. So I've gone horizontally, now I'm going vertically across. Again, give yourself this count of 4 to 5 seconds so that the water is actually going into the paper, which will keep it open long enough, hopefully, for you to get your washes on. Now, my paper's quite wet. If I lift the board, you can see the shine on it. But even now, there are parts of the paper that are beginning to look duller. So if I apply my paint right now, I know if I was using a full-size piece of paper, by the time I got to the bottom down here, chances are the paper's going to be too dry to take the washes the way I want. So I'm going to damp my brush, not wringing wet, just damp it, and I'm going to go back over it for a second time with the damp brush, putting another thin layer of water over the paper just to make sure that it's even. You don't want to be applying any pressure to your brush at this point. It really is just gliding over the paper. Every time you go over the surface of this paper, you are potentially disturbing it. Eventually you'll get cockles and weird things happening on the paper's surface. So minimize the number of times. So on this guy, I'm going in and I'm using cobalt blue. Again, I'm going to start at the top and just bring it down, and I'm just going to allow it to peter out or run out as I get lower, so it gets paler and paler as I go down the page. But I want to get another colour in with this one, so I'm going in with ultramarine blue, and I really just want this to be at the top. I want to get a darker area at the top of my sky. And again, there's no pressure on the brush. So the brush is just gliding across the paper. So now this time I'm going to lift out, and I'm going to lift out using a little bit of tissue. So I've always got dirty tissue because that's just how it is. So I've damped my tissue down and I'm squishing it, but not into a hard shape. It wants to have a bit of movement in it. It's the best way I can describe it. So I haven't got a flat edge. It's got all these wobbly little shapes to it, and I'm squishing it, but I'm keeping it so that it's got a little bit of softness in it. And all I'm going to do is very lightly, no pressure on the paper, no pressure on the tissue, is just shape some clouds. Again, taking more attention to the top of the cloud than the bottom. The bottom works quite well if it's fairly flat, but the top of the cloud needs to have some shape. So as I move into the darker paint, you get a better idea of what's happening here. But even where I've gone over on the light ones, when it's dry, it will stand out. Now I'm moving my tissue around as I go. One, to find cleaner parts, but also because every time I move the tissue, I'm going to get a slightly different shape on the cloud that I'm putting in. So I'm just going to keep them moving. So in theory, we're in summer now. I say in theory. 3 days ago it was 18, yesterday it was 8, and today it's just plain undecided. So here's my clouds, and again, all I want now is to wait and let this dry, and hopefully we'll have what should look like a half decent summer sky. But keep your tissue really, really soft. Keep your touch soft. You don't need to lift out all the paint. It works better if there's still some colour. If you really want to get some white tops on your clouds, then just go in with a slight bit more pressure. But again, remember, You don't want to disturb, so you don't want to be screwing it around. You just want to touch it and pull it off, because otherwise you're disturbing the surface of the paper, and then you'll end up with patterns and marks that you really don't want. So all I'm doing is applying a little bit more pressure, cleaner parts of the tissue, just to get that look of some really light tips on the tops of the cloud. I'd only do it on the tops really, or at a point nearest your brightest light. Other than that, I think they look better with a little bit of colour left in them. Thank you.